Hello, music fans. You're watching Death by Unicorn, where we talk about metal, rock, and prog music, and this is New Music's Alive in 2025. Today I'm going to talk about 9 new albums that came out on April 4th, 2025, and I'll talk about them in my order of preference, give my quick first impressions on them. These haven't been out for long, so these are just quick first impressions rather than full album reviews. But a lot of really great stuff came out, and I'm going to start off with talking about the band Allegaeon and their album The Ossuary Lens. This is the 7th album by this American band. It's technical melodic death metal with progressive influences, and I'm putting this one in my near masterpiece tier. I love all of the albums that Allegaeon has put out. I really thought their last one, Damnum from 2022, was a near masterpiece, and I expected this to be really good and a strong contender for my year-end list if it could be as good as their last album. I still haven't decided yet if this is as good as their last album, Damnum, but it's very close, and as expected, the guitar playing here is amazing. The songs hit with intense brutality in the vocals, intense speed in the drums. Check it out if you're a fan of the Black Dahlia Murder. Imagine if you want to hear their sound, but hear an even better, even more technical, even more progressive version of Black Dahlia Murder sound, kind of going towards the more progressive death metal sound of like the Faceless, because they also have moments with keyboards and clean vocal hooks, like on the 3rd track, Driftwood, which has a catchy kind of chorus hook. So right now that might be my favorite song on the album because it's a memorable one for me. If that sounds good to you, check out The Ossuary Lens by Allegaeon. Next up is one that's in a similar vein, which is Fractal Universe and their album The Great Filters. This is the 4th album by this French band, and it's progressive technical death metal. I'm also putting this in my near masterpiece tier, and I also love all of their albums. They're all near masterpieces, so I kind of expected this to be amazing as well and a strong contender for my year-end list. And just as expected, they deliver again. I found the clean vocals sound actually a bit like the vocals on the Almo album Reconciliation from 2024. They kind of reminded me of that for some reason. So check it out if you like Almo, but also if you want to hear like a more progressive tech death version of Almo. And also if you're a fan of like the Faceless and stuff like that, these Allegaeon and Fractal Universe are kind of carrying that crown of progressive technical death metal with melody. Next up, I want to talk about Black Country New Road and their album Forever Howlong. This is the 3rd album by this band from the UK, and this is progressive art rock with indie, folk, alternative, baroque, and post-rock and pop influences all mixed together. I'm putting this one in my excellent tier. I thought their album Ants from Up There from 2022 was excellent as well. Then their lead vocalist Isaac Wood left the band, but they put out an excellent live album which had all new material, original material in 2023, and everybody else in the band stepped up and contributed vocals, but the majority were handled by Tyler Hyde, and she did an excellent job, and I was excited to hear what they do on this one. The singles I heard before this album was released were excellent, and then I really enjoyed this whole album from Black Country New Road. It's got an artsy, quirky indie rock vibe. It sounds like a bunch of artistic kids who went to music school, and they write interesting songs that are just a joy to listen to. If you're a fan of Bent Knee, you'll probably like this. But I think this is even better than the more recent releases from Bent Knee. Imagine their music, but slow it down quite a bit and add some more like indie and folk vibes to it, kind of like Bent Knee plus Bon Iver. The female vocals here are great, and this might be a hot take, but I think they're even better than the vocals done previously by Isaac Wood before he left the band. There was one part in the track, Happy Birthday, where she held the note for so long, it sounded like she might have been fake in the studio or done post-processing. I think it was a real held note, but maybe it wasn't, but it was still neat. My favorite tracks so far on the album are Nancy Tries to Take the Night and Forever Howlong. Check it out if that sounds good to you. That's Forever Howlong by Black Country New Road. Next up is another interesting band with female vocals, which is the band Solstice and their album Clann. This is the 8th album by this band from the UK, and it's neo-progressive rock with folk influences. Also putting this in my excellent tier. They have multiple female vocalists here. They have guitar, violin, drums, bass, and keyboards. And I really enjoyed the early single I heard from this, Firefly. That track opens up the album well. And then Plunk, the third track, is a fun, funky song with 7 beats per bar. And Frippa is another great song with some 5 beats per bar stuff going on. Nice violin riff playing out the song at the end. Then the album's 5th and final song, Twin Peaks, is a prog epic that's almost 14 minutes long. That sounds good to you. Check out Solstice. It's very joyous progressive rock music for fans of Yes and Jethro Tull. Next up, I want to talk about Bleed From Within and their album Zenith. This is the 7th album by this Scottish band. It's melodic metalcore with deathcore, groove metal, and melodic death metal influences. I'm putting this one in my very good tier. Solstice I put in my excellent tier. So this is where I'm starting my very good tier now in this video. And I thought the last album from Bleed From Within, Shrine, was also very good. I was hoping this could impress me even more and surpass that one. I'm not actually sure yet which album I like better between this or the last one, but I think this is close to what they did on the last one, possibly even better. Great pummeling heavy riffs that make you bob your head. If that sounds good to you, check out Zenith by Bleed From Within. Now I want to mention McStine and Minnemann and their album 3. This is the 3rd album by this duo from the US, and it's experimental progressive art rock with hard rock influences. I'm putting this in my very good tier as well. Great guitar playing by Randy McStine and great drumming by Marco Minnemann. If you're a fan of Steven Wilson, I think you'll like this, as both these guys have played with him before. You can hear that as well in a bit in the way they play. It's got a Steven Wilson kind of shine to it, vibe to it, but the guitars feel like they have a lot more freedom to be flashy here than on Steven Wilson, though, so they really let loose. That sounds good to you. Check out 3 by McStine and Minnemann. Next up, I've got Amplifier with their album Gargantuan. This is the 8th album by this band from the UK. It's progressive space rock with psychedelic and alternative rock influences, also in my very good tier. I got conflicting info about the release date of this. Some news sites said April 4th. Bandcamp already had it out with a release date of March 7th, but that didn't have the 3 bonus tracks. Prog Archive said March 30, and Rate Your Music said September 1, 2024. So I listened to it on Bandcamp back in March. I enjoyed it, but it didn't leave a massive lasting impression on me. It sounds like a band that I will probably, check out other albums that they do and put them on and enjoy them, but one that I don't think has risen to the level of like one of my favorite bands and one that I definitely want to follow going forward. But if you like progressive space rock and you like bands like Hawkwind and stuff like that, psychedelic stuff, maybe even like Motor Psycho and King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard a little bit, maybe you'll like this album Gargantuan from Amplifier, so check it out. And I've got 2 more to go here in this video. The next one I want to talk about is an album called Siege by a band called Imaginaerium. This is the 2nd album by this band from the UK, and it's a neo-progressive rock opera. I'm putting this in my very good tier as well. This project was formed by Clive Nolan, Eric Bouillet, from Nine Skies, Solace the Place, and Laura Piazze and their musical mates. I saw them on the Prog Corner YouTube channel on a live stream. I heard one of the early release singles there. It wasn't really my style, as it was a bit too melodramatic for me, but I was definitely curious to check out the rest of the album. And after I checked out the whole album, I was pleasantly surprised about how enjoyable it was. I still don't think I'll return to it too much because it didn't grab me that much, but I really enjoyed it while it was on. Check this out if you're a fan of Allegaeon and you want to hear an album that sounds like that, has that kind of progressive rock opera musical theater, dramatic kind of vibes to it. But if you want to hear that, this focuses heavily on one female vocalist, Laura, though Clive also does vocals on a handful of tracks too. But it's also got this more of like a medieval folk vibe to it at times. So if that sounds good to you, check out Siege by Imaginaerium. The last one I want to mention today is an album by Elton John and Brandi Carlile. They made a collaborative album called Who Believes in Angels. This is, of course, pop rock with a little bit of blues, country, folk, and alternative influences in there. And I'm putting this one in my good tier. Of course, Elton John's a legendary British singer, songwriter, and pianist. And Brandi Carlile is a great American singer, songwriter, and producer. I heard 2 tracks ahead of the release, Swing for the Fences and Who Believes in Angels. They're both great duets between Elton and Brandi. And I don't remember if every song's a duet, but most of the songs feature vocals from both of them, if not everyone. Emotional, soft pop rock songs that are well written and performed. I didn't expect this to be a game changer of an album in any way, but just a collection of well-written songs performed by talented people. Besides Elton's piano, the rest of the instrumentation is provided by hired guns here, so it kind of has that session musician vibe to it where it's all well played but lacks a specific character to it. However, some interesting musicians contributed to the album, like Red Hot Chili Peppers drummer Chad Smith, former Red Hot Chili Peppers guitarist and multi-instrumentalist Josh Klinghoffer, and session bass guitarist Pino Palladino. My favorite track at the moment, I think, is Swing for the Fences, but I also really like Who Believes in Angels, A Little Light, and Someone to Belong to. Those are all great songs, and I think if every song on the album was as good as those, this would have made my very good tier. But many of the other songs on the album, though, are just kind of quite average, emotional, soft rock songs that are well performed, but nothing too interesting. So I just put this in my good tier for now. But if you like Elton John or Brandi Carlile, I'd say this is definitely one to check out. Check out Who Believes in Angels. And that's it for my first impressions of these. I think it was 9 albums that came out on April 4th. What do you think of these albums? Let me know down in the comments. Hopefully I inspired you to check some of these out. Let me know if I did and you enjoy them, or even if you hate them, let me know as well. And did anything else come out recently that you think I might enjoy? Also let me know. And hit that subscribe button if you like metal, rock, and prog music, because every week I post my first impressions of new stuff that came out. Stay tuned for next time. In about a week's time, I'll be posting my first impressions on new releases from the Mars Volta, Bon Iver, Flummox, Benthos, Glasshammer, In the Woods, Epica, Bjorn Reese. Yeah, those are some of the things I plan to listen to that are all coming out April 11th. And as soon as I've kind of heard them all and digested my thoughts, I'll put up my first impressions. So stay tuned for that, and peace out.